Have you ever imagined driving down a dark and lonely road when suddenly your radio starts transmitting strange voices, whispering your name? What if I told you that this is just the beginning of a real story that will leave you afraid to hit the road at night? Hello, intrepid explorers of the unknown. Intrepid explorers of This is Raven Shadowmere, and welcome to another chilling episode of Midnight Mysteries. Before we dive into the depths of this terrifying tale, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell. After all, you won't want to miss any of our encounters with the inexplicable, right? In today's episode, we'll recount a spine-tingling story that took place in 1987, involving a truck driver named Jack Hawkins, a journey that began as just another routine delivery across the vast highways of the United States, but transformed into a nightmare that defies understanding. Get ready for a trip down Route 666, where reality blurs with the supernatural, and the boundaries between the possible and the impossible become as hazy as visibility on a foggy night. Jack will face events that will make you question everything you think you know about the world around us. And here's a warning. This story has a twist so shocking that it might make you rethink every mile you've ever traveled on a lonely road. Will Jack manage to complete his delivery, or will he succumb to the horrors waiting for him in the darkness between the states? Oh, and for those who think truck drivers are too tough to feel fear, well, let's just say that even the bravest of road warriors can tremble when confronted with the true terror of America's highways. So, settle in. Make sure your doors are locked, and prepare for a journey that will make you think twice before accepting a ride at night. After all, on the roads of Midnight Mysteries, it's not always you who decides the final destination.
From the True Trucking Stories series.
My name is Jack Hawkins, and I've been a truck driver for over 20 years. I thought I had seen it all on the American highways. But what happened to me in 1987 completely changed my perspective on what's possible in this world. It was an October night. The air was cold, and a thick fog hung over the road. I was on a routine delivery from Chicago to Los Angeles, driving down Route 666. The radio was playing country music softly, and I was chewing gum to stay alert. Around 2 a.m., I entered a particularly dark and deserted stretch of road. That's when I noticed something strange in the rearview mirror, a pair of headlights that seemed to have been following me for some time. It's not uncommon to have company on the road, even late at night, but something about those lights made me uneasy. I tried to focus on the road ahead, but I couldn't take my eyes off the rearview mirror. The headlights seemed to be getting closer, so I decided to pull over to let them pass. But when I stopped on the shoulder, the headlights simply disappeared. Confused, I looked around, but there was no sign of another vehicle. That's when my radio started to crackle. I thought it was just interference, but then I heard a voice. A whispering, dragging voice saying, Jack Hawkins." A chill ran down my spine. How on earth did my name come through the radio? I tried to change the station, but all I could hear was static, and that eerie voice repeating my name. I figured it was time to get back on the road. I started the engine and stepped on the gas, eager to leave that strange place behind. But as I drove on, the landscape began to change in a way I couldn't explain. The trees lining the road seemed to twist and move as if they were alive. The asphalt ahead appeared to ripple and melt. I rubbed my eyes, thinking I must be exhausted and hallucinating, but the bizarre scene persisted. Suddenly, I saw something in the middle of the road, a shadowy figure standing right in the path of my truck. I slammed on the brakes, my heart racing in my chest. The truck skidded and spun, and I closed my eyes, bracing for the impact. But the impact never came. When I opened my eyes, I was stopped on the shoulder, the engine still running softly. I looked around, disoriented. There was no sign of the figure in the road, nor of the contorting trees. Everything seemed normal, shaking, I grabbed my cell phone to call someone, anyone, but there was no signal. Frustrated, I threw the phone onto the passenger seat, and that's when I noticed something on the windshield. A handprint, as if someone had touched the glass from the outside, but it wasn't a normal print. The impression looked like it had been made with ashes. At that moment, I decided I needed a break. There was a gas station a few miles ahead, and I drove there, my nerves on edge. When I arrived, the place seemed deserted, but the lights were on. I entered the convenience store, expecting to find a sleepy attendant, but instead, I came face to face with an old man sitting behind the counter. He had a distant look in his eyes and wore a faded cap with the logo of a trucking company I didn't recognize. "Problems on the road, son?" he asked, his voice hoarse and weary. I hesitated for a moment before answering. You would believe me if I told you I saw strange things out there." The old man let out a dry laugh. "On this road, boy, you have no idea what this Route 666 has seen." He leaned forward, his eyes suddenly very alive and bright. "Let me tell you a story. In 1967, there was a terrible accident right in the stretch where you were. A truck driver, driving late at night, collided head-on with a car full of teenagers coming back from a party. No one survived." I felt a knot in my stomach. "And what does that have to do with what I saw?" The old man smiled, revealing yellow teeth. "They say that on certain nights, especially when the fog is thick, the souls of those who died in that accident still wander the road. They look for drivers to join them." I swallowed hard, remembering the shadowy figure I'd seen in the road. "That's crazy. That can't be real." "Real or not," the old man continued, "I suggest you be careful for the rest of your trip. Route 666 holds many secrets, and not all of them should be uncovered." I left the store feeling even more disturbed than when I entered. I returned to my truck, determined to finish my delivery and forget all this craziness. But as I continued my journey, strange things kept happening. Road signs pointing to towns I knew didn't exist, radio stations playing songs that seemed to come from another era, and always, out of the corner of my eye, I felt the sensation that something was watching me from the shadows. It was when I arrived in a small town that didn't appear on any of my maps that things truly became terrifying. The streets were deserted. The houses seemed abandoned for years, but there was light coming from a diner at the end of the main street. I parked my truck and went inside, hoping to find someone who could give me information. The interior of the diner looked like it was straight out of the 50s, with a jukebox playing a melancholic tune and red leather booths lining the counter. Sitting on one of the stools was a young woman. She turned to me as I entered, and my blood ran cold. Her face was pale, almost translucent, and her eyes had no life at all. "Welcome, Jack," she said, her voice echoing in a way that didn't sound natural. How do you know my name?" I asked, taking a step back, my heart pounding in my chest. She smiled, a grin that didn't reach her lifeless eyes. "We all know your name, Jack. You're the new driver, aren't you? The one who will join us on the Eternal Road." That's when I noticed the other figures in the diner, sitting at the tables, standing by the windows, all of them watching me with the same empty eyes. I recognized some of them from the missing persons photos I sometimes saw at gas stations. "No," I said, my voice trembling. "No, this isn't real. This can't be real." The girl stood up, extending a pale hand toward me. "Oh, but it is real, Jack. As real as the road that brought you here, and now, you are one of us." I didn't wait to hear more. I bolted back to my truck, their voices calling out to me, their footsteps echoing behind me. I started the engine and hit the gas, not caring where I was going. As long as it was away from there, I drove for hours, maybe days. I lost track of time. When I finally stopped, I was in the middle of the desert, the sun rising on the horizon. My phone rang. It was the dispatch center, asking why I was late for my delivery. I looked at the dashboard clock. Only 12 hours had passed since I left Chicago. But how was that possible? Had I lived days of terror in just one night? I completed my delivery in Los Angeles, but I was never the same. Sometimes, late at night, I still hear those voices on the radio. I still see shadows moving in the corner of my eyes, and every time I pass that stretch of Route 66, I feel as if the road is calling me, trying to take me back to that ghost town, to join the eternal travelers of the night. I never told this story to anyone before who would believe it, but now you know. And the next time you're driving late at night and see strange lights in the rearview mirror, well, it might be better not to stop and see what it is. Because on the road, not everything is as it seems, and some destinations are worse than death. After that fateful night, my life as a truck driver was never the same. I tried to return to normalcy, continuing with my deliveries as if nothing had happened. But the truth is that the terror of that experience haunted me with every mile I traveled. In the weeks that followed, I began to notice subtle changes around me. Fellow truckers I had known for years seemed different, their eyes occasionally reflecting that same emptiness I had seen in that ghostly diner. Sometimes, I would catch fragments of conversations over the radio that seemed to reference that night, as if others had gone through similar experiences. I sought professional help, trying to convince myself that it was all just a hallucination caused by fatigue and stress, but the nightmares persisted, and with them, the constant feeling of being watched, followed by something I couldn't see or understand. I started researching the history of Route 666, looking for any information that could explain what I had experienced. I discovered accounts from other drivers who spoke of strange occurrences in that same area, unexplained lights, voices on the radio, even encounters with figures that seemed out of time. One day, I received an anonymous letter at my home address. Inside was only a black and white photo of a diner that looked exactly like the one I had entered that night. On the back of the photo, handwritten, was a message: "There will always be a place for you on the eternal road, Jack." That was the last straw. I could no longer deny the reality of what had happened. I decided I needed to face my fears directly. I planned a trip back to that stretch of Route 66, determined to find answers, or, at the very least, some sort of closure. When I arrived at the spot where it all began, I found only an empty, silent road. There was no sign of the ghost town, the diner, or anything supernatural. But when I parked my truck at the same spot where I had first seen the mysterious headlights, I felt a shift in the air. The radio turned on by itself, and through the static, I heard a familiar voice, the same dragged-out voice that had whispered my name that night. "Welcome back, Jack," the voice said. "You made the right choice in returning." At that moment, I had an epiphany. I realized that the true horror wasn't on the road or with the entities that inhabited it. The true horror was in the choice to accept the call of the eternal road or to fight against it. I turned off the radio and started the truck. This time, I didn't flee. I drove calmly back towards civilization, back to my normal life. I realized that as long as I maintained my humanity, my connection to the world of the living, the entities of the road would hold no power over me. I continue driving to this day, but now, with a new purpose, I've become a sort of guardian, helping other truckers who encounter the inexplicable on the roads. I share my story as a warning, but also as a message of hope, because in the end, I discovered that the power of choice is the most powerful weapon we have against the unknown. The road may be long and sometimes frightening, but we are the ones who decide our final destination. And for those who hear the call of the eternal road, remember, not all who wander are lost, but not all destinations are worth the journey. Sometimes, the true act of courage is knowing when to stop and turn back home. Dear viewers of Midnight Mysteries, the story of Jack Hawkins leads us to profound reflections on the nature of fear, choice, and reality itself. Allow me, Raven Shadowmere, to share some final thoughts on this chilling journey. Jack's saga on the American highways teaches us a vital lesson. The true horror does not lie in the supernatural entities that may or may not exist in the shadows of the night, but in our ability to confront the unknown and maintain our humanity intact. Jack faced the unimaginable that fateful night on Route 606. He saw beyond the veil of reality, confronted the seductive call of the eternal road, and emerged not just as a survivor, but as a guardian. His journey is a testament to the power of human resilience in the face of the inexplicable. What makes Jack's story truly remarkable is not just his survival, but his transformation. He chose not to hide from the horror he experienced, but to use it as a driving force to help others. In this choice, Jack embodies a universal truth. Our response to fear is what defines who we are. The eternal road that Jack encountered is not merely a supernatural phenomenon, but a powerful metaphor for the temptations and choices we all face in our lives. How often do we find ourselves tempted to take the easier path, to accept an offer that seems too good to be true, only to discover that the price is our own humanity? Jack reminds us that true immortality does not come from dark pacts or promises of eternal life, but from the marks we leave on the world and the lives we touch. Every driver he saved, every soul he guided back to the light, is a testament to his true eternity. And for us, dear viewers, what lessons can we draw from this chilling tale? Perhaps it serves as a reminder that, on the long roads of our lives, we will face our own nighttime terrors, our own crossroads, and when that moment arrives, we will have to make a choice: succumb to fear or face it head on. Always remember, not all lights on the horizon are friendly beacons, nor are all whispers on the radio innocent. But do not forget that even in the darkest nights, there are guardians like Jack Hawkins watching over, ready to extend a hand to the lost and frightened. So next time you find yourself driving late at night and feel that inexplicable unease, that sensation that there is something more beyond the reach of your headlights, remember Jack's story. Remember that the choice is always yours. You can surrender to the darkness or choose to become a light for others. Because in the end, dear listeners of Midnight Mysteries, it is our choices that define us. And as long as there are people willing to confront the unknown, to reach out to the lost, there will be hope. Even on the darkest roads, even on the longest nights, the light of humanity can shine brighter than any supernatural darkness. Drive carefully, keep your eyes open, and your heart alert. And always remember, not everyone who wanders is lost, and not all paths lead home, but for those brave enough to face their fears, the way back is always there, waiting to be found. And so, dear viewers of Midnight Mysteries, we come to the end of another journey through the dark paths of the inexplicable. Jack Hawkins' story reminds us that sometimes the true monsters are not those lurking in the shadows, but the choices we make when facing the unknown. Before we say goodbye, I would like to make a special request to all of you, brave explorers of the supernatural. If this story resonated with you, if it made your heart race, or brought that familiar chill down your spine, please hit the like button on this video. Each like is like a beacon in the darkness, guiding other curious travelers to these stories that challenge understanding. And if you haven't joined our community of fearless investigators of the occult yet, now is the perfect time to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. After all, you wouldn't want to miss the next enigma we're going to unravel, would you? Each subscription helps us continue our mission of shedding light on the darkest secrets of this world, and perhaps others. Remember, your likes, comments, and shares not only help us grow, but amplify these stories, allowing us to reach more people who, like you, seek answers to the inexplicable. Who knows? Your share might be what prevents someone from making a fateful stop on a lonely road on a dark night. Oh, and for those of you as courageous as you are curious, how about sharing this story with your friends? After all, everyone could use a good scare now and then, right? Who knows? You might end up saving someone's life by warning them about the dangers lurking in the shadows of America's highways. Thank you all, intrepid explorers of the unknown, for joining me on this journey through the dark recesses of reality. Your courage in facing the inexplicable is what keeps the flame of curiosity alive, illuminating our path through the darkness. And before we go, I leave you with one last thought. The next time you're driving late at night and see strange lights in your rearview mirror, remember, not everyone who wanders is lost, but not all paths should be followed. Choose wisely, night travelers, until the next mystery. This is Raven Shadowmere reminding you that in the darkness of midnight, it is when the true mysteries begin to reveal themselves. Stay alert, stay safe, and above all, stay curious.